Hi, this is Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming here with another great podcast. We certainly appreciate you. You guys are the best audience in the world. You guys rock. We love you, and I love you guys listening to the show all the way through, especially a bunch of you. The fun times usually come at the end of the show, so be sure to listen for that. Tell your friends, neighbors, relatives, please refer to the show. We've been seeing huge numbers jump on the show, so we're really excited about the activity we're seeing there. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss, hit that bell notification button. As always, for your mobile device, be sure to go to iTunes, Google Play, and any of the apps out there for podcasting so you can learn more about the show. And, of course, download all the recent episodes. Got a wonderful guest, as always. We had the best guests on the Chris Voss Show. Heather Bowen Ray. She's a healthy habits coach and behavioral change consultant, and she's the owner of Murmur. We'll get into what that's about. But Heather is a healthy habits coach and consultant to behavior-related health and wellness systems. She works with inspiring individuals who are working hard to overcome specific barriers to change. At the programmatic level, her most recent work has addressed health concerns such as childhood obesity, drug use and addiction, and prevention of communicatable diseases. Heather's experience includes in-house and on-call work for advertising and communication agencies and stems from a 15-plus social change career based in Washington, D.C. And she's instructed university-level communication courses and has trained hundreds of professionals and university students. Welcome to the show, Heather. How are you?
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
It's wonderful to have you. And of course, as always, we have all the best guests. So Heather, give us your plugs really quick so people can look you up on the interwebs while we chat.
Yeah, and you can find information about my coaching packages and services at thehabitswhisperer.com and Murmur and Hum.
Habits, Whisper, and Murmur. Those are some interesting names. So what is Murmur and what is that about?
My business at this point is focused on helping people overcome their barriers to creating the healthy life that they want to live. So I do individual coaching of a variety of different clients on a number of different issues that they're facing. So it could be anything from body image to someone who feels like they're addicted to sugar, just someone who knows that they need to exercise but isn't doing it, or someone who's been exercising for 50 years but lately has found that what they used to do doesn't work well for them. So
a lot of personal coaching and stuff. Yeah, why'd you call it Murmur, the company Murmur? I'm just curious. That's a really unique name.
Yeah, well, it was sort of a concept word. It has to do with listening to your inner voice on a personal level, and on the societal level, it has to do with the fact that often just before change comes about, there are a lot of people talking about it. You might, it's like bringing to the surface some things that are sort of have been underneath as a social norm and overcoming those issues.
Yeah, my inner voice really isn't a murmur. It's more of a scream, like, get me the hell out of here.
Well, we can work with all levels of volume. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's usually my, it's a trying to think of a funnier word than that, but yeah, it's that, or what are we doing here? Pretty much every time I turn on the news and watch politics, it's a full rage scream. Yeah. So,
understandable these days.
So you help a lot of people, you coach them. Primarily, what are the people do you apply mostly more to women or appeal more to men, or both? What are some of your crisis clients that you see on a regular basis?
Yeah, it's often women who are sort of midlife, but more recently I've started coaching men, and we're all human, and our issues are the same when it comes to overcoming your behaviors. So many of us know what we want to do, but yet have trouble making it happen. And so we try to just explore deeper and deeper. Why is that? And I have a number of different tools that I use too.
Cool.
help
So
change.
why are you screwed up? That's pretty
We're all, I know, we're all screwed up, but always in different ways. So
yeah. I often wonder, I mean, parenting is a tough business. And usually one with very little education. I'm not really sure why we don't send people to college to learn how to be parents, but I don't know. What doesn't make sense really when it comes down to it, not everything. But it's tough. I've often wondered if people actually, if your parents didn't screw you up, if you still turn out screwed up. I mean, maybe the world is just a screwed up place, and you're stuck in it and trapped in this. It's this train to hell, if you will. I don't know. I mean, what's a good? Let's start with this. What's a good way to analyze if I need a coach like you? I mean, where am I at, and what needs do I have?
Yeah, well, I think that is a great question. I usually start with what are your goals, and where do you want to be in 6 months or a year? And how are your actions today relating to those things that you want to achieve?
Cool. So goal setting is a real important part of when you coach people, and getting them to plan out their future. What are some other things that you usually coach people into talking about?
Yeah, well, we always start with an intake assessment, and we walk through sort of the foundations of good health, which include sleep, stress, your nutritional, composition of what you're eating, and how much you're moving, that sort of thing.
So it's a full plan where it's not only in my head, but my body, my exercise. I recently lost, what was it, a year and a half ago now? 70 pounds.
I think that's fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I went vegan for about 3 months, just gay for the stay, if you will, when it came to vegan militantism. I just did it for the clean, healthy eating, which there really is a lot of people should really focus on. Veganism sometimes gets a bad rap of being, people who are, tree huggers, which they're good people. I get a lot of tree hugger friends. But I just wanted to lose weight, and my life was just hell. My mental life was hell. And a lot of that stuff is impacted. People just take for granted that diet is an important factor in the balance of our brains, the balance of our thought process. Absolutely. How we feel can either just make you suffer miserably or glow. Back to the glowing part, obviously, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, I think you got bright eyes.
Yeah, I gotta stay at that Best Western, I think. Isn't that the commercial thing? Have you seen that commercial where they go, bada boom, just tell people they glow or something? I don't know. But I think I have to get pregnant to glow, so I'm still working on that part too. I can't seem to get that to work. I don't know why. But so you started your own business. How long ago did you start this coaching business?
I started the coaching business, or consulting, about a year ago. I'm sorry. Let me back up. I started the consulting about 10 years ago. I started coaching within the last year.
Cool.
What happened is I, had been this behavior change practitioner for quite some time, but I was quite overweight myself, and I was seeking answers in the literature. I sought out doctors, chiropractors, nutritionists, and I learned a little something from everyone. But I found it wasn't until I moved here to Boulder, Colorado, and got a long-term coach that it really started to make a difference for me. He gave me very simple steps to follow. And so I was working out twice a week and changing my nutrition habits, just one thing at a time, rather than trying to tackle everything at once. And he really helped me identify those things that would make the biggest impact in my life. So once I got that coach who gave me this plan of action, then I really started to see the pounds fall off. I started to feel more vibrant, healthy, energetic. Hopefully I feel like, it's a spectrum for all of us. I hope I'm on that way to glowing, but definitely feel better, feel much more vibrant and energetic. And that helped me avoid some of the things I've seen other people struggle with, some of the diseases and just general health challenges that I was facing myself, aches and pains that you get,
Mm-hmm.
So he helped me as a coach, overcome those things, and really inspired me to become a coach myself.
That's awesome. It's and sometimes people need that extra boost. When I was losing weight, I used my social matrix of followers and friends and stuff to kind of be my coach, also be, my point of keeping me intact and making sure that I didn't get off track, and kind of, witnessing, okay, Chris. And I made, and I did something that worked for me. And I said, every day I'm going to post my weight, my scale weight, which not a lot of people, it was a pretty brave move when I think about it. But I'm a social creature, so I didn't mind it too much. But I'm not sure most women would like posting their weight every day. So, given what that was. But it helped me personally in posting every day what I kind of ate, what my experience was, what I thought maybe had contributed to my weight going up. There's sometimes where, we just painted a little too much booze the night before, even though I ate well and whatever, but also kind of gave me a journal of feedback on what was going on. But it also made me beholden to my audience, because every now and then, well, not every now, a lot, I'd be like, oh, come on, you can get away, buy a Doritos bag, or you can get away with eating this, or, just order a burger. No one will know. And having a coach, or in my case, having my audiences as the, as kind of an oversight committee to make sure that Chris didn't, if they knew that if I didn't post my weight, I was going to be in trouble. And that really did help me stay on the narrow, because my brain would go, you can't have the bag of Doritos or the M&Ms or the big donut muffin, because you got to report to your coach, or in my case, my audience tomorrow, and they're going to know if you cheat.
Yeah, the accountability piece is huge.
Accountability. That's so important. I had some friends that frowned on it who said, well, you shouldn't announce that you're going to lose this weight. You should just lose it without announcing it. You shouldn't make this all public, because what it does is it tells your brain that you've already accomplished it once you say it. But no, that having that authority that I was working with my audience, or in your case, like a coach, to just help me keep on the path, and know that someone was looking on my shoulder. I'm a single guy with 2 dogs. So if I want to cheat eat here at home, no one's going to report me, and no one's going to nag me, and no one's going to know the difference. So having that audience as my authority to oversee me and make sure I stayed validated and losing weight was a big important thing. So I can see why coaches are a real big help. They can help you see some of the scotomas that you might have, blind spots that you have, if you will, on why you're not accomplishing your goals, holes that you have in your program. Some people aren't really good organized people like me. They kind of work better sloppy, but I'm not sure working better is the right word, actually, come to think of it. But we are a little sloppy, and so it helps to have somebody around us who can go, here's where you need to go and fill in the holes and do better.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's a mix of sort of mental frameworks, and then maybe someone who has some more information than you do. I mean, I don't know if you went through the same place where, in the beginning you may think, I'm doing pretty well, I'm eating fairly healthy, I make good decisions 80% of the time according to what you know, but then at some point you realize, oh, maybe there either isn't something that you know to do, there's like a gap in your knowledge, or you're just having trouble overcoming something that you do need help with. And I feel like coaches can help with either one of those things, or both. And
they certainly can. In my case, my coach being my audience, they, we talk about different things. Like one time I started eating, instead of live broccoli, I started eating frozen broccoli, and I started noticing more sodium content in it. And come to find out, they blanch a lot of frozen vegetables with sodium. And a lot of that doesn't appear on the label either for some reason. And so, I remember one time I ate a half a jar of salsa when I was in my fasting quest, and I love salsa. And I'm like, I ate something that was really good for me. And someone said, you ever check the back of the sodium content of salsa? And I'm like, oh yeah, it doesn't look bad. And they're like, Chris, it's per 2 teaspoons at a time. And I'm like, holy crap, I just shoved half a bottle of Morton salt in my mouth.
Wow. Yeah, that is frustrating when you feel like you're doing the right thing, if it's eating salsa or whatever, and then you come to find maybe that particular habit isn't so helpful.
Yeah. After that, I went to Pico de Gallo, or Pico de Gallo, however you want to pronounce it. And I actually, I got early on, I had gone to the store and they'd run out of Pico de Gallo. And I'm like, I need this. I make these little tortilla tacos with Pico de Gallo and some hot sauce that I love.
Yeah.
Those would make a great tide me over meal. And the Pico de Gallo is really fresh, doesn't have a lot of sodium.
Right.
And then one day the store was out and I said, screw it. I'm going to learn some new habits. And I learned how to make my own and get really proficient in it. And that made it so I could, just lose even more weight and be healthy and do all the good stuff. So let me ask you this. Are there any good client success stories that you have in your library of working with clients that you saw some really turnaround and changes after they work with you?
Yeah. Well, I like to measure my success by my client's success and by their process changes just as much as the outcomes. One of the early successes I had was an interior designer who was quite active and had been doing a lot of things that worked pretty well. But she found that over the past 5 years or so, she had gained weight just a little bit, over this period of time. And I want to also stop and say that I did get permission from all the people I'm speaking about today to talk about their stories. So, confidentiality is quite important as well in this business. But since she's an interior designer, I looked, sort of into the literature to find out what would work for her specifically. And I found there's a lot of great research that has been done on environmental cues and how important they are for us. Just how you set your kitchen up, how you plate the food, that sort of thing can make a big difference in your perception of how much you're eating and how satisfied you feel after a meal. So together, I always try to get the client to make the suggestions of what they want to change, what excites them, what seems doable. And she and I came up with this idea to use smaller plates based on the, a variety of options that we had seen for evidence-based solutions. And, she did have stacks of plates because that's kind of how she lived her life. She liked to entertain. And she ended up losing weight over, a period of months. When I followed up with her months later, she had still kept that weight off and was continuing that habit because she felt like it was something she could do, every day at every meal, whether she was in or out at a restaurant. You can choose to eat off of a salad plate instead of the big dinner plate. So
portion size does make a difference. It really does. And, maybe for her, when she was presenting the food, filling the plate and making it look, full and beautiful and have that nice layout. I forget what they call it in the cook school presentation, kind of maybe give you more food. I mean, that's one thing I learned, even if sometimes if I was bad and I go grab a burger, I'll eat the burger, but just don't eat the fries. Don't order the, I still have a habit, like when I'm on the road, if I've got to eat at a fast food place, I don't order the large or medium. I just stick with the small. I stick with coffee, of course, or iced tea, preferably iced tea if it's unsweetened. Sometimes I'll have some sweetened iced tea, but don't drink pop anymore. Portion size is everything. That, and sometimes, one of the things I dealt with was some of the scotomas that I had in my brain from growing up as a child, where your mom said, eat everything on your plate. And a lot of us still have those habits stuck in our head. And so for me, saying you don't have to eat everything on your plate, you are an adult, you'll be fine. Sometimes I started making it a habit of not finishing everything on my plate on purpose. It's a small gesture, it seems kind of silly. Kind of sometimes you're like, well, I just ate a burger and I'm not going to finish like this last little couple inches. But it also teaches your body that you don't need to eat all that food and everything else. We tend to eat for winter that never comes because we live in, climate controlled zones now. So it's always fun to go through these experiences, learn everything. So 10 years of running your own business, that's got to create a lot of fun experiences, challenges, and what keeps you motivated at running your business after all these years?
Well, I always say
motivated.
Yeah, right. No, I mean,
I'm sorry, I put you on the spot there. That's a tough one.
Yeah, that's okay. Switching to this area that I'm really passionate about right now keeps me more motivated than ever. And actually, I love working with clients who are just dedicated to improving their own human potential. And that manifests itself in many different ways, but it's just super exciting to me to see these people working, week after week, even if they have had a rough week, or even if they didn't quite make their goal that week, the fact that they're willing to persist and keep working toward their goal and then eventually see that they do make changes. It's just incredibly rewarding to me.
So do you have clients that call you daily, weekly, or every few days? What's a good coaching sort of calendar pattern that you use that helps clients stay on track and of course helps you make sure that they stay on track as well?
Well, I usually offer a package that's starting out of about 5 weeks, and it's an intake call and then a series of follow-up calls that are, the first call would be an hour long, and then after that it's weekly for a half an hour, and we can fit that in, over a lunch hour, super early in the morning. I had one client who could do it between 6:15 and 6:45 on Thursday nights, and that, whatever works for people, I try to make sure it will work on a consistent basis, more or less. Yeah.
I mean, for me, the daily thing with my audience is really important because mainly I was putting my food in my mouth every day, and there's a potential for going off track. So I guess it has to just go down to what your client feels, or what you both feel jointly is what's important to keep people on track. Food is an addiction, just like drugs or anything else. It can become an addictive process for people that they can't control. And we don't really think about it because we always think, well, I'm nourishing myself. And I had to go through some distinctions with my life where I had to realize that not everything is nourishment or nutritious, for that matter. I mean, when you go to McDonald's and you're eating the Franken meat that not even a judge and jury was able to figure out when they called it Franken meat, what was in it, that's probably not a good sign that that's nutritious. And so I had to learn that there are some foods that are just food, I don't know, food candy maybe is the right word, but they were just some foods that just weren't going to give my body nutrition. And if they weren't going to give my body nutrition, my body wasn't going to feel full. And therefore I was going to go looking for very bad foods that would give me an instant full satisfaction, but not be healthy for me in any way, shape, or form. So there was that.
Well, I just finished a precision nutrition certification program that's actually last month. And one of the tenets of that program was this idea of no dogma around food, and that you can pretty much eat anything you want, but in at certain times, social occasions, if it's something that you really, really want, have it, enjoy it, savor it, but know that something like that really isn't that nourishing, and maybe there's a different reason that you're eating it. And kind of accepting, we are products of our environment. We do have these influences. So it's tough. I don't know. And there are a lot of different ways of thinking about food, a lot of different frameworks. And, that's one thing about the type of coaching I do, is I will work with, anyone, or with any diet that they want to pursue, so long as it isn't, putting them in danger, or if we, get to a point where I feel like this person needs to see, a different practitioner, medical practitioner, then definitely would refer out. But I don't know. You have to look at the frameworks, and are they serving you? What's the guiding question is sort of what's working? Is it working for you? Right.
Yeah.
It sounds like you did find some great things that worked really well for you because you lost a really significant amount of weight.
Plus, I had my audience coaching me. It did help that and I got a lot of knowledge from them as a coach. It also did help that I was reading a lot, experimenting a lot, and willing to throw out old models. Helping completely stop drinking pop really helped. Giving up heroin. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't. Actually, I have friends that have told me that if I did heroin, I'd lose a lot of weight, and that would be good. But then I'd have no teeth. So there's that. I got enough problems as it is, so we need to add more. But no, certainly have the audience to give me information, to keep me honest, and keep me accountable. And I learned a lot of stuff from my posts. Well, I ate this yesterday, and this seems to have either gone south on me or there's something I did wrong. But yeah, looking at some of the paradigms, it's amazing how some of the mental stumbling blocks that we can put in are what are really holding us back. And sometimes you need someone to go in there and go, no, what you believe there is wrong, and here's a better way to approach it in really achieving your goals. And sometimes just a small tweak is it all you need to reset those paradigms and then start getting what you want out of life. It's the degrees between success and failure are really minute sometimes, and you just got to turn that dial just a little bit over to the left or right, and all of a sudden you've got results that you've been always wanting. So
that's amazing.
It makes all the difference in the world. So is weight mostly what you deal with? You do coach business people who are starting their own companies, entrepreneurs?
I think it's not just weight loss. It's nutrition and healthy habits, or to help people reach their goals. I mean, you asked earlier, what is the main reason why you would hire a coach? If you're trying to reach a goal on your own and you're not being able to get there, then on your own, then it does help to sometimes hire a coach or a guide who can help you reach your goals faster.
Most definitely.
Yeah, and I was just thinking who the kind of clients that I've had most recently, busy executives. It's a range, but not so many entrepreneurs. Yeah.
One of the big things is when you're an entrepreneur, you tend to eat, you tend to worry, stress, eat a lot. That or stress drink in my case back in the day.
Well, you'd be amazed. It kind of doesn't matter what profession you're in. We're all facing the stress of trying to fit all of these things that we want to do in. And, it's like, how do you prioritize your want to do's versus your have to do's, and, raise the priority of something that in the long term is going to be really important for you, like your health. But in the short term, like you said, every single chance you have to snack or eat a meal, it's like this muffins here. How does that weigh against, like how I want to feel 5 years from now? It's a really tough thing to overcome, isn't it?
And it really does make a difference. Yeah. I turned 50 this year, and I've had to start really taking some serious steps with my weight and exercise and diet to try and, get on the right path. It seems the older you get, the harder it is to get rid of it. I've actually been surprised, although I shouldn't be, but I've been a little surprised at how my muscles don't grow quite as fast. It used to be when I went to the gym, I would muscle up really quickly. And I'm not doing that as well. So the muscles aren't growing as fast. My metabolism is slowing down and everything else. And you're just chasing this curve. I think one of my podcast guests said it best. Oh, it's not that we're living longer, it's that we're dying longer. So we've extended the downgrade period that we're going through to get to the end, where we're just, everything's falling apart and off the rails, and you're trying to keep everything on board as long as you can, or your quality of life as high as you can. And, that impacts everything. It impacts your business, your life, just everything you could possibly think about when it comes down to it.
Absolutely. So when you were at South by Southwest, did you have any conversations with other people there about, health, and how are the entrepreneurs that you're talking to?
I had a few entrepreneurs that talked about, their challenges of going through a catharsis, being out of energy with their business. I was in Austin, Texas, so there was a little bit of the off dieting. So most of the conversations took place over barbecue brisket. So there was a little badness that had to go on. Well, it didn't have to go on. I shouldn't have that paradigm that I allowed to go on. And I ate some. There's nothing wrong with barbecue brisket, especially on a rare occasion, but I did indulge in a lot of the overeating and overfooding because it's so good there in Austin. And thank God I don't live in Austin because we fight it.
Talk about environmental challenges, right?
Yeah. Everyone's like, you should move here, Chris. I'm like, hell no. I'll be breakfast, lunch, and dinnering barbecue. I'll eat so much of a cow. I will be a cow. And environment's a big factor. I mean, one thing I learned when I was losing weight was I saw this in a Facebook group. Someone said, if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. So if you want to make sure it doesn't get in your mouth, don't buy it and bring it home from the grocery store. Which I think is harder if you have a family, and you're buying for your family food and stuff, and maybe you don't want to force them into your eating habits. But certainly it's very true that if there's a bag of M&Ms in your house calling out to you, I'm over here, just eat one. You can go down the road of bad things. Where one of the things I learned, I think when I first started losing weight, I was like, I'm going to stop drinking pop, but I'm just going to keep like a 6-pack of Mountain Dew in the fridge, just in case for emergency. For emergency break in case of fire. And that just did not work, because that's, that as soon as I hit a dry spot of desperation, I'd go for it. I remember the first month or two, sometimes there were moments where I'd tear through cabinets trying to find some sort of bad food that I can engage.
Yeah. Well, I think we're biologically programmed to seek out the richest food in our environment. So exactly.
So environment's a big part of it. I've been lucky where I don't have a family that I have to, I have to sit and watch them eat nachos and M&M cakes or whatever, cupcakes, in full view of me, and they're in the house, because that just would not work for me. So basically what I'm saying is, if you want to lose weight, leave your family. No, I'm just kidding. But maybe you want to anyway. The other thing is fortunately I work from home. And so that gave me a really big control over my environment and food. I'm really lazy. I don't like to leave the house. I don't really like to go grocery shopping. So that made it so that if I was sitting at home or I was going to bed at night, I'm like, I really would like some bad food. And I would just go, I'm too lazy to leave the house to go get it. I'll just go to sleep, be good. Damn it.
Yeah, it is a smart idea to make sure that your grocery cart looks, like what you want your dinner plate to look like. So, and that's the better place to make that. The more you can make your decisions ahead of time, set yourself up. I'm huge on, as you can guess from the fact that I call myself a habits coach, and the website is The Habits Whisperer. The idea that systems and habits are going to set you up for greater success than trying to rely on willpower or your ability to make a good decision in the heat of, like, here I am faced with a bowl of M&Ms.
I was on the road and the other day, and I pulled up to a McDonald's, and I knew it was bad, and I asked them for an order, and they couldn't hear me well, and they asked it, can you repeat that? And I just went, fine, and I drove away.
I thought you were going to say, I just said, supersize it all. I'll take
No, I drove away, and I was really proud of myself.
That's great. Yeah.
And I stepped away from the chasm of temptation And I went home to where I had better food than I knew. I had salads and broccoli and Brussels sprouts, and I knew that I'd be better. And so, you know, sometimes it's just having that control. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm still
and having the systems ahead of time. I mean, for me, it was when I knew I had turned a corner when I had guests over, and I decided it was just going to be easier if I cooked for everyone than it's all going out to a restaurant. I mean, that is huge. Just yeah. There's sort of, and that is the culmination of many different habit changes, and the fact that I had enough material on hand to make a meal for these.
A lot of those restaurants, and they like using a lot of butter. Put a lot of butter in everything.
Oils. Yeah. And you know what? I don't know if you experimented this with yourself. Like, go ahead and let yourself put a little bit of more butter in your own food when you cook at home, especially in the beginning. And so it is more palatable to you, but then at least you know what the ingredients are of what you're eating. That's
exactly. And whether, you know, the high fat content for high fructose syrup. I think it's Dave Asprey who runs Bulletproof Coffee, and he's got a whole brand behind it. But you know, he recommends putting a tab of butter in your coffee, which actually is really good. But he also, you know, he says, you know, this is your fat for the day, so that's it. So you know, there's places for this stuff. In fact, I one time was trying to get as much salt as I could out of my life. That turned out not to be a very good thing, because it kind of was messing with me physically. So some salt is good, some butter is good, not everything is bad. It's not true in the case of hard drugs though, so don't take that in. Some heroin is good. No, doesn't equally apply. There's that. But yeah, it's just trying to be better with your life, trying to get somewhere. You know, the one thing I've learned turning 50 now and going through some Zen moments to deal with some of my lifelong issues and anger issues and stuff, and just how I process things and approach them has really helped me. And now I feel like I'm 50 years old, and everything I thought I knew about life and everything, I didn't. I almost feel like I'm starting over at 50 with how I'm approaching life and what life's about for me. So it's always a constant journey, and yeah, having other people, whether they're coaches or in my case, a giant audience that acts as a coach, can really help save you some trouble, because there was a lot of mistakes I made, and thankfully I had somebody who went, no, what you think it is isn't what it is, Chris, and here's what it is. And I'm like, wow, you just saved me from creating a bunch of havoc for myself and going down the wrong fork in the road for quite a ways.
So how do you evaluate their information, the advice that they are giving you? You just
I kind of crowdsource it, so I'm looking for volume of indicators. So if I've got enough people saying one thing, that might be a thing. It's not always a clear indication of truth, but it's usually an indicator. I evaluate the information and data that sometimes people give. Sometimes somebody will say something that's really unique, and turns out they just have a really good bead on the information. And so, you know, do some research based upon it too on Google. I don't just take what people tell me. Yeah, you should eat green M&Ms, you'll be healthy forever. Oh, okay. You know, so I do a little bit of research and thought process of my own. Sometimes when I was losing weight, I do some of my own testing, where it A/B tests and all that sort of good stuff. So, you know, it just depends.
Yeah, it's important to evaluate where the information is coming from and to test.
Oh yeah,
that's work for you,
so you can see what's going on and everything else.
Yeah.
So Heather, give me your plugs again so people can look you up on the interwebs.
thehabitswhisperer.com, and Heather Bowen Ray is the handle on Twitter and Instagram.
Cool. Well, it's awesome to spend time with you, Heather. And as always, our audience, you guys are the best audience in the world. We, of course, have the best guests. Be sure to tell your friends, neighbors, relatives, dogs, cats, mistresses, pool boys. Tell everybody you know and interact with to download the Chris Voss Show podcast. They can go to iTunes, Google Play. They can also go to youtube.com/Chris Voss and hit that mobile bell notification button and all that good stuff. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thanks, Heather. And we'll see you guys next time.